every single time you are just at the highest form of like, I'm just at peace, no anxiety, no worry, no fear, no doubt, no any of that. I want you to hold on to that because that's what it feels like 24/7 when money no longer becomes an issue. Go taste our dreams as much as we possibly can. Okay. I'm not a sweets guy. I mean, it's not that I'm not a sweets guy. I avoid sweets, which then allows me to not be a sweet guy. Let me explain, right? 2 weeks ago, I took my daughters to get Froyo, right? There's a nice frozen yogurt spot. And we're sitting there and there's little, Haven's got her little cup. It's all over her face and her hair everywhere, right? She's almost 2. Brave, 4, same thing, right? All over. And we're sitting there and I'm like, Daddy's just going to have 1 or 2 bites. Yeah, and I never eat ice cream. I never eat sweets. I don't eat junk food. We don't even have it in our house, right? It's just, I don't crave it because I don't taste it. I had 1 bite. I went from like good dad to bad dad. I said, Brave, share it with your sister. Done. Right? Because I tasted it. I was like, oh my gosh, And so I'm not used to it. But once it was on my taste buds, I was thinking about it. I was dreaming about it. I couldn't stop thinking about it for like a week and a half until the taste was out of my memory. Once the taste was out of my memory, I no longer was craving anymore, and it was easy to get back to my normal routine of discipline. Okay? So why do I tell you this? Because like Tavares said, you can't crave something that you haven't tasted, and once you taste something, right, it's possible for that craving to wear off. And so if you're only tasting your dream every once in a while versus all the time, the craving wears off. And so what Allie and I always did, we said, okay, every Sunday after church, right, we'll go through at least 1 or 2 open houses in all the wealthy neighborhoods. So in all the wealthy neighborhoods, we would go through all the houses and we would tour them. And we felt so uncomfortable at first. I remember the first time we did it, we were like, do they know we can't buy this? and I was like, do they know we can't afford the closet? Do they know that? And so I remember walking in and feeling so uncomfortable because we felt like we weren't supposed to be there. We felt like we weren't supposed to be there. And then somebody says, Matt, that's the whole point of an open house, is for it to be open and people to walk through it. Some people buy, some people don't. They just want as many heads walking in to tell the seller, right? And so we would go through, and then we ended up walking the same 5 houses. There was like 5 model homes. We ended up walking the same ones, kid you not, probably 14 times. Wow. Right? And I remember the first time we went, we felt uncomfortable. The second time we went, it was a little bit less uncomfortable. Third or the fourth time, the realtor's like, hey, good to see you guys. Right? And but we never could buy it. It was just, we were just selling ourselves the dream. What's crazy is I now have a house on that street 15 minutes from here. Wow. Right? Just sitting there vacant with, you know what I mean? But we'll do something with it at one point. But my whole point is it's there. And I remember we had one of our agents, John, when we first bought that house on that street, he goes, dude, this is crazy. He goes, I go, what? Because you used to take me back when I was a field associate through all these houses, and now you live on the street. And that's the reality of it. Okay. But what was crazy though is over time, you start to get very comfortable being in things. And you walk in, you're like, I don't like the cabinets. Right? 5 bedrooms, I need a minimum of 7. You know what I mean? Like you start to become picky. You start to become picky because you've seen so much of what you like. You now know what you don't like. But how do you know what you don't like until you have what you like? It's like you think one hotel is good, and then you stay at the 4 Seasons. And then you don't want any other type of service ever again. I remember me and my wife went to Bora Bora, and we were staying in those huts all on the water, right? And I kid you not, it was like we would sneeze, and there would just a tissue would fall from the sky. Like it was I kid you not, the level of service was unbelievable. Like we would go out for a 3-minute walk, and we would come back, and our entire room was clean. We would walk into random stores. They make Mr. and Mrs. Welsh. I'm like, how did you know my name? How did you know my name? The Michelin chef came out and goes, Mr. and Mrs. Welsh. So I'm like, how did you know my name? Everywhere we went, Mr. and Mrs. Welsh. It's like they had photos. We were checked in for 14 minutes. Went to a store because we were waiting for our room to be finished. We went to the store and they said, Mr. and Mrs. Welsh, it's so good. Like, we just got here 14 minutes ago, right? And so once again, you can't crave that which you have not tasted. But I also want you to realize that when it comes to the things that you want, if something impresses you, that's why you don't have it. If you were impressed by something, that's why you don't have it. Do you think somebody who has a 50-year marriage is impressed by somebody who has a 40-year marriage?
No.
They're proud of them, but they're not impressed by them. Why? Because they have it. Make sense? Okay. If you were impressed by a house, that's why you're not living in one. If you're impressed by a car, that's why you're not driving it. If you're impressed by how much something's tithing, that's because you're not tithing that amount. Make sense? Okay. So we got to become familiar with the things that we want, so familiar that we become unimpressed. And so what we started doing is we started touring all the different houses and we became unimpressed by them. And then all of a sudden one day we pick our head up and we're living in one of them. And then we're living in another. And then we're living in, right? And then it just starts to compound, starts to manifest everything that you want. You got to become so familiar with things that you lose the, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You got to lose that, right? You got to lose that feeling. So I would say go test drive your dreams. Success doesn't feel successful as you're creating success. In fact, the creation of success feels extremely unsuccessful because there's rejection, there's no's, there's setbacks, there's adversity, there's exhaustion, there's days where you don't want to get up, there's days when you just like, I'm done. There's all of that. So success never feels successful until one day you pick your head up and you're like, oh my goodness, like this is my reality. You don't even realize it until you're there because of how unsuccessful success feels. And so just know that whenever you feel like, he was talking about the feeling, whenever you feel unsuccessful, you're moving in the right direction. You're moving in the right direction. And it's, can you overcome that feeling? That's typically where people fall. They collapse into like, you know what? I feel unsuccessful. So then they do unsuccessful things after that. But like when you're working your butt off, it may feel unsuccessful. And then one day you're going to be like, pfft. Me and Allie were, I forget where we were. We were just somewhere overlooking something beautiful. And she goes, wow. I go, yeah. She goes, I was just thinking about where we are and our life. She goes, this is pretty ridiculous. I was like, what do you mean? She's like, this is just ridiculous. Oh, we were at our lake house overlooking the sunset because the sun, our house overviews the lake and the sun sets. She goes, this is ridiculous. She goes, this is like, did you think it was like, and she just was like, reminded me of like everything that went wrong. She's like, when this happened, when this happened, when this happened, this happened, did you think it was going to end up like this? I was like, I couldn't even imagine it like this. Because it's hard to crave a feeling once again that you haven't tasted. And so it's like, sometimes you don't even know what feeling you're chasing. And I think the feeling that you're ultimately chasing, I believe, is peace. I believe that is the true feeling that everyone is ultimately chasing. Like when you were the happiest, it's when you were you were most peaceful, correct?
Yeah.
Not like you're laying in a pool and you're just like happy and you're just at peace. You have no worries, no stress, no problems. And that's one of the things that money does buy, right? It buys the ability, like, don't get me wrong, there are things that money cannot buy. I couldn't buy my dad's health back, right? But there are also things that it can buy, which is being able to take care of my family, which is having all bills and expenses and everything. Like, I don't even think about it. I don't even know what they are because that's an exhausting thought. And when you're participating in exhausting thoughts, that means you're not participating in a peaceful state. And so the real dream that I believe we're all chasing is the dream of just the highest form of peace, where you're just not thinking about anything outside of just where you're at. Like, it's hard to be present when you're not at peace.
Right.
Peace is, I think, one of the highest forms of presence. So every single time you are just at the highest form of like, I'm just at peace, no anxiety, no worry, no fear, no doubt, no any of that. I want you to hold on to that because that's what it feels like 24/7 when money no longer becomes an issue. I always talk about like the 3 levels of execution, right? Level 1 is motivation, which is you do things when you are motivated, you do things when you feel good. So whenever you feel good, you do good. Whenever you feel good, you execute. Whenever you're feeling motivated, you do motivated things, right? So it's motivation. Tier number 2 or execution level number 2 is discipline. You're able to get yourself to do things when you don't feel good. You're able to lead yourself. right? So you have high levels of discipline. You're able to execute even when you don't feel good. The third level of execution is diligence, which is you're able to execute when you don't feel good with the same level of enthusiasm as if you do feel good. So you're able to execute when you don't feel like it as if you do feel like it. So number one is motivation. You do good when you feel like it. Number two is discipline. You do good even when you don't feel like it. Number three is diligence. You do good when you don't feel like it, and you execute as if you do feel like it. So it's, can you execute with diligence when you get back? Because you feel good right now. You're on a high. You're on a high. What about 4 days from now? When you're not going to sleep in the same house, when you're not going, like, what happens then? When it's just you and your thoughts. After you had an entire day of people that said no to you. What about then? It's, can you savor onto the dream? This is why I always, I think the biggest thing, if anything, if you want to actually stay on the path of execution, is you got to keep your dream on the forefront of your mind. There's two things you got to keep on your mind. You got to keep your dream on the forefront of your mind, and you need to keep service on the forefront of your mind. This is so much bigger than you. There's so many people that need your help. And like I talked about today, the highest form of selfishness is being comfortable. Because to be comfortable means you're not thinking about anybody else but you. And so it's, can you keep service on the forefront of your mind where all you're thinking about is, how do I improve the lives of other people? Can you keep that on your mind? Because when it's no longer about you, it's like, man, I don't feel like working today, but I got people that are counting on me. I mean, heck, guys, we're financially free 10 times over. I don't have to work. I don't have to throw a single retreat. I don't have to have anyone over for dinner, especially, just to be blunt, people that are not on the team, right? But the reason we do it is because we've committed to a life of service. I've committed to a life of service. And that's it, right? So if you keep service on the forefront of your mind, it will keep you in the game no matter what. And then if you keep the dream on the forefront of your mind, it will keep you excited. I've already created a contract with myself on how I will deal with adversity, how I will deal with problems, and how I will deal with anything that pops up. I have a contract with myself. Okay? And it's not an actual tangible paper contract. It's a mental contract of, this is how I behave when things go wrong. This is how I act when things go wrong. This is how I perform when things go wrong. When I went into business, I wrote a contract with myself, which was, I don't quit. There's no quitting. So because there's no quitting, when things got hard, might as well figure it out. It's either now or 20 years from now, and I don't want to be where I'm at 20 years from now, so I better do it today. Right? Anything that I was afraid to do, well, I'm not quitting. So it's either I face this fear and conquer it, or I'm going to regret in 20 years that I didn't. I'm just going to do everything now. So I had a contract with myself of how I would deal with adversity before adversity popped up. So when it did pop up, all right, let's deal with it and let's move on. I've also shifted the way that I've shifted my belief around adversity. Okay. Does adversity really exist? Or is that perspective? Makes sense? Adversity does not exist. It's the perspective that something is adversity that exists. So I use the word adversity because people can relate to it and understand it. But I don't look at anything as adversity because I believe that every adversity, quote unquote, is a blessing in disguise as long as you look for it and as long as you qualify for it. And keep in mind, as long as you qualify for it, I just want to taproot that, as long as you qualify for it. Because if adversity pops up and I handle it with spite, a lack of integrity, I handle it with anger, I treat people poorly, that means I'm disqualifying myself from the blessing. But I believe that if adversity pops up and I handle it with honor, I handle it with integrity, I treat people right, I remain super positive through it, that means that I'm qualifying for the blessing. Hey, send me my blessing. So whenever adversity pops up, I'm like, all right, fired up, excited, because I know that there's going to be a blessing on the other side of it because I already decided how I'm going to deal with it. I decided I'm going to deal with it in a positive way. All right, cool. Man, this is popping up. I'm fired up. There's a big old blessing that's on its way to me. I just got to deal with this real quick, handle it with honor, handle it with integrity, handle it with peace and positivity, treat people right, send it to me. I'm going to claim my sevenfold return. Okay. And so that is the spirit of it. So my whole point is adversity does not exist. It does not exist when your perspective is all adversity has a blessing. And if you've already made the decision that you're going to qualify for it. So now I look at everything as an opportunity to further my life and make it greater than it already is. And I know that every new level requires you to face a new devil. So I'm going to face this devil so I can go on to the new level. We have to realize that if you knew what you needed to know to have the life that you want to have, you would have it already. If you were the person you needed to be to have the life you want to have, you would have it already. So the fact of the matter is, we are not who we need to be to have what we want to have. And by the way, that's me included. I'm not the man I need to be to have the life that I want to have. We have a good life, but there's information that I need in order to get to the next level. And if I'm not constantly seeking out what that information is, I'm never going to arrive. So I always got to be seeking out that information, right? So that's the first part of it. Second part of it is going to be associations, right? You become who you hang out with. I mean, we've all heard that you will become, if you hang out with 5, fit people, you'll become the 6. If you hang out with 5 wealthy people, you'll become the 6. So whatever you hang around the most, you will become. So it's really just guarding your associations. I think that's really, really good. But sometimes it's not even associating with the good, it's disassociating from the bad. I think so many times people are more focused on getting into good associations, but they don't think I got to get rid of my bad ones. Okay? And what is a bad association? Anyone that makes you feel comfortable. From a growth perspective, anyone that makes you feel comfortable, right? So, or anyone that makes you feel excellent as well, right? Like I always tell Eric, I'm like, I already know I'm special. Punch me in the face. Tell me everything that's wrong with me. Tell me everything that I'm not doing well, right? So I asked him when we were at the Packers game, it was me and him just sitting next to each other. We didn't watch the game. We just talked for 3 hours. And I asked him, I said, hey, can you create take some time and create a top 30 list of everything that I could do to become a better field chairman? Like just write a top 30 list of everything I'm doing wrong or everything I could be better at, right? Because I need somebody that's going to make me uncomfortable. And so if I'm you guys and I'm at this table, like when was the last time you went to Varsity Mimi and said, hey, can you tell me everything that I don't want to hear? I promise not to get mad. I promise not to be upset. Here's the deal. I've actually had a lot of people come up to me and say, I promise not to be mad. I promise not to be upset. And then they're mad and they're upset. So if you're going to say it, you got to actually be willing to take the punches. And that's really, really important. I've always been a firm believer of don't be mean, but be direct. Like if I'm not direct with you and tell you what you need to work on in order to improve, you're not going to get better. Yeah. And so do I want to be mean or disrespectful? No, I don't want to be mean or disrespectful, but I do need to be direct, because if I dance around the problem or if I fluff your pillow or I avoid what really needs to be said, then we don't improve and we don't get better. And so my thing is always be direct, just don't be mean. Be direct, just don't be disrespectful, right? You could be direct without the other. And so I've just always been a firm believer. So for instance, even when it comes to the people we lead, I'm very direct. I don't beat around the bush. And my heart's coming from a good place, and I'm never going to be mean or harsh or, I'm just going to tell you how it is, because the shortest distance between point A and point B is a straight line. So if I dance around, then I'm creating a longer path to the destination. You know what I mean? So I just what's the straightest line between where you are and where you want to be, who you are and who you want to be? What's that line look like? Let me just be direct. I mean, I spend an hour, worst case 30 minutes a day doing personal development every day. My goal is, can I learn something new every day? And can I make sure, can I point out what I learned that day that's new? Can I identify it? And if I can't identify it, did I really grow? If I put my head on the pillow tonight and you text me and say, what did you learn today? If I can't type it out, then that means I didn't learn something, right? And I think most people are like, oh, I learned something. Well, what did you learn? Right? And can you do that every day when they're not in meetings like this, right? Because obviously there's going to maybe be more than one tonight, right? So, I've just invested in books and audios and, all those things. I think one thing for me personally, if Eric asked me what's my business edge and what's my personal edge, and he asked me that question, a couple months back, and I told him one of my business edges is that I'm actually passionate about the subject of leadership. The subject of leadership actually, I actually really enjoy it, understanding it, learning it. One of the things that's helped me a lot in leadership is paying attention to things that were done and how they made me feel. right? And by the way, I think sometimes people think good leadership is you feeling good. It's not, right? I pay attention to the leadership that, excuse my language, but pisses me off, but it gets me to take action. So I pay attention to those things too. It's like oftentimes I was like, oh, like, you know, screw them. They made me feel this type of way. It's two things that gets us to move, pain and pleasure. Did it piss you off enough to move? So was that bad leadership or was it good leadership? I don't know. Makes sense? There's often times when Eric frustrates the heck out of me, right?
I got one of those today.
Yeah. I bet.
I'm not kidding you.
Did you?
Yeah, I got a text that said, "Maybe look."
Yeah.
Olsen texted me today.
Yeah, probably. There's so many times, right? But then you think back and you're like, dang it worked, right? Like you're mad at it for a moment, right? Because naturally you're like, you don't even know. You don't even know what I'm going through. You don't even know. Like naturally that like you want to get defensive of you, right? But then you're like, it worked.
Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it. Let's get it.